name is Peyton. Me and my partner Jordan are going to be going over the urological system and the process of excretion. So I'm going to start by going over some basic anatomy of the urological system. So you have your aorta, your inferior vena cava, your two kidneys, your renal artery, your renal vein, your ureter, your bladder, and your urethra. The main function of the kidney is to eliminate waste from the blood. This is carried out through the process of excretion. Jordan is going to go over that in more detail, but in simple terms, unfiltered blood enters the kidney through the renal artery. The kidney filters the blood, and the filtered blood exits through the renal vein, and the waste products are eliminated as urine through the ureters. This is seen in this example here. So that shows blood entering through the kidney and the waste product being eliminated as urine. So the reason urine is yellow is because of a pigment known as urochrome. When your urine is light yellow, that's healthy because it means there's a high amount of water compared to the urochrome. But when it's dark yellow, it means that there's a lot of urochrome compared to the amount of water and you're dehydrated. But your urine color can also be dependent on other factors such as medical conditions, food you're eating, or medication. For example, your urine can be red if you consume beets or rhubarb, or it can be caused by medical conditions such as a UTI, a bladder infection, or a kidney stone. There's also been cases where your urine has turned blue due to taking a medication known as propofol.
Is a very important part of our body as it performs the process of excretion. Excretion is our natural way to release waste and excess water from our body while also being the main regulator for composition and volume of our blood plasma. There are three functions of excretion: filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. Looking deeper into the anatomy of the kidney, we find its functional units called the nephrons. In this figure, the yellow tube that winds around and connects to the collecting duct at the end represents one nephron. Each kidney has about 1 million of these nephrons, and they all work together to excrete fluid. These nephrons have different sections, and most of the sections are closely wrapped with blood capillaries. Filtration starts at the head of the nephron, or the renal corpuscle, which is this entire structure here. The renal corpuscle is comprised of the glomerulus, which is represented by the red ball structure, and the Bowman's capsule of the nephron, which is represented by this yellow C-shaped looking tube. During filtration, these two interact by the glomerulus bringing blood to the Bowman's capsular membrane, creating pressure against it, which will allow small substances to pass through the glomerulus openings and through the Swiss cheese-like membrane of the Bowman's capsule. These openings are small enough to prevent blood cells and larger proteins to pass through them, keeping them in the bloodstream. With this, however, comes a slight amount of pushback of pressure through capsular fluid, hydrostatic pressure, and colloid osmotic pressure, which is generated from the proteins dissolving in the blood. However, the blood pressure should still favor filtration to occur unless you have low blood pressure. Continuing down the nephron, we will reach the proximal tubule, which is indicated by this yellow part. At this point, we will start the reabsorption process, and will reabsorb almost all glucose, all amino acids, and 3/4 of the water and salt. Moving further through the nephron, we reach this long portion called the loop of Henle. This works with the collecting duct to create concentrated urine at the end of the path. It is also important to note that the loop of Henle only exists in mammals and birds. After the loop of Henle, we reach the distal tubule. Here we see our first signs of secretion, as we see an exchange between salt and potassium. Salt is reabsorbed into the bloodstream, while potassium is secreted back into the filtrate. Finally, we reach the collecting duct of the nephron, which will begin to reabsorb the water from the filtrate depending on the amount of ADH present in the body, and will collect at the end as urine, which will be expelled from the body.